Japan is a country full of amateur criminals, but tourists who visit the country for the first time foolishly praise how Japanese people follow the rules and how safe the country is. But I'm here to tell you that that is just a facade to lure you into safety and then strike when you least expect it. In today's video we will explore the 7 rules that are commonly broken even in Japan. Make sure to drop the like button as it's a tiny click for you, but a humongous help for me. And let's get to the first rule that Japanese people love to break. Before you roast me to death, make sure to watch the video till the end, where we'll discuss the implications of these rule breaks. The first point I want to talk about is actually what annoys me most about living in Japan as a whole, and I'm talking about the gods of Japan, aka the cyclists. If you want to feel like the true incarnation of Amaterasu himself, just ride a bicycle in Japan, and suddenly you're absolute from any rule or law that has ever been written. And while you might think the obvious offenders are the Uber Eats cyclists that both wear headphones and have Google Maps on while riding the bicycle, not stopping for any red light, and even riding against the traffic, the biggest offenders of all are the mamacharis. These chariots of evil are made by Satan himself and are usually controlled by innocent looking moms in the 40s with a kid or two in the back to appear even more innocent, I guess. But don't be fooled, these are angels of death and announce their arrival with the ever annoying ding 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 while riding on the pedestrian way. Have you ever seen how crowded Japan sometimes is? But these cyclists just expect everyone to fuck off and make space for the divine holiness. Seriously, fuck all cyclists that ride on the pedestrian way. If it's crowded, walk your bike. Or don't be a pussy and ride on the street as you're supposed to be, because there are clearly markings on the road that indicate where bicycles have to ride. And matter of fact, it's even a law to ride on the street, but the police doesn't give a flying fuck about it, and the rules are not enforced at all. Like, it's asinine to me why you're allowed to run red lights with a bicycle and not with any other vehicle, or switching between the road and the pedestrian walkway depending on the traffic light. For all the talk about how considerate Japanese people usually are, the cyclists are a big exception for that. And I swear it gets my blood boiling if I walk peacefully and I hear a cyclist like ding 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 and expect me to move out of the way every 10 seconds. Oh, that was a passionate one. Alright, the next point on the list is going in flagranti, aka cheating. Now it should come to no surprise that in a country full of girl and hostess bars and an abundance of other spa establishments, that cheating is a big thing. Now, while technically prostitution is not legal in Japan, no one will check what you're doing with the lady alone in the room. But everyone knows what's going on, and the sex industry is a huge part of Japan's economy. But normal cheating is also pretty prevalent, and unfortunately I have seen and heard about many cases where people cheat in this country. Heck, one of my former bosses brought his mistress to a cocktail party we made. Can you be more in your face with that? It's crazy. But I guess that cock ain't gonna suck itself. Good, what, too much, gonna? Now, if you have ever been to Japan, you've probably seen how Japanese people drop their stuff in the Starbucks or in the food court and then go away to the restroom or somewhere else, and their MacBook, phone, and wallet is just on the table and anyone could grab it. But no one does. And your inexperienced tourist brain is like, wow, amazing! But there will be the fateful day where the sun decides not to smile upon us and heaven itself starts crying. I'm talking about a rainy day. If that happens, chances are you're gonna buy an umbrella. And Tokyo is famous for these clear plastic umbrellas that you can get for $5 in every convenience store. They're great, by the way. I love being able to see through the umbrella. But while umbrellas are cheap, they're not free. And here lies the problem. Because in Japan, umbrellas are treated like a public commodity. But if you foolishly leave your umbrella at one of those umbrella stands at the entrance of a convenience store, you will run at a really high risk that some Japanese grandma in need will decide to grab your umbrella and use it as her own. So the moral of the story is, you can leave your laptop, your wallet, your gold bars, or your Bitcoin in public places without caring too much, but never ever leave an umbrella unattended. Alright, you might say that is petty theft and that's not so serious, so the next point will be a little more serious, at least depending on which country you are from. And the reason is, I am talking about underage drinking. The legal drinking age in Japan is 20 years old, but no one really gives a flying fuck about it. But while they can escape the law, they cannot escape the watchful eye of rule samurai. This sounds too ridiculous. You do have to confirm your age in the convenience store, but it's just a touch panel where you click Yes, I'm 20 years old. I have never seen an ID check in Japan, and when I was a university student here, I have seen other students drink with 18 or 19. And they also confirmed that even high school students can go to bars without worrying about an ID check too much. I guess that's fitting for a nation of alcoholics. Now in the country where I am from, Germany, it's also not uncommon that people drink with 15, 16, 17, but at least most of the time the cashier has to check the ID, so you have to find someone that buys the booze for you. I guess that's how people in America do it as well. But I don't want to discuss the best strategy to underage drinking here, so let's move on. And the next bullet point is the perfect partner in crime: smoking. Smoking is prohibited on the street or in public parks, but all you need to do is go to Shibuya and see people smoke next to the no smoking sign, just like the no litter signs in other countries, I guess. But as an avid non-smoker, it kind of bothers me how prevalent smoking in general is in Japan. Especially at bars or restaurants, there's still a smoking area found, which is kind of insane once you get used to no smoking inside. But I guess that's not a rule break per se, but let's move on to the next point. Alright, back to the traffic rules, but this time the offenders are the car drivers, or rather the car parkers. Now usually in Tokyo it's not allowed to park on the side of the street, especially in Europe where cars clutter the landscape. And it's actually really nice to not have cars parking everywhere in your neighborhood. So through the lack of space, parking spots get really expensive. So that leads to people just parking on the street anyway. Now that doesn't mean that they park the car for a couple of days, but a short trip to the supermarket or dropping someone off, well, you know, it's just 10 minutes. Right? But the thing is, you're effectively blocking a lane on the street, which causes a lot of trouble for the cars behind you. What happened to being considerate of others? Now this point is actually connected to the bicycle point, because the bicycle lane is also blocked by these parking cars, so I can develop the tiniest bit of sympathy for the cyclist if they decide to switch to the pedestrian walkway. You see how that crime syndicate comes together slowly? It's all connected. Or as Yoda would say, parking cars lead to evil cyclists, lead to suffering. While talking on the phone is a big no-no on Japanese trains, and in general I am very impressed by the smoothness of Japanese public transport, the whole concept of a priority seat is a little wonky. Now technically you're not allowed to use your smartphone in the priority seat, and I would agree that that is a kind of stupid rule, but the bigger problem is that people oftentimes ignore when someone needs a priority seat. They just stare down at the phone, and it's incredible how their eyes are glued to the screen without daring to look up, because then they might be judged. So as long as they pretend to not see anything, that's fine. Another common tactic is to just pretend to be sleeping. I can tell you how many times I've seen some grandma or grandpa going into the train, and the young dude in the priority seat is like... It's really funny to see their reaction if you actually talk to them and be like, hey, this person needs a seat. Then it's all like, sumimasen, I'm so sorry. Moshiwake gozaimasen. Which ties into the whole concept of don't ask for permission, do, and apologize later. Which, by the way, in most cases is the correct thing to do in Japan. And that's it. These are my 7 rules that Japanese people break in everyday life and which tarnishes the image of the perfect society that some weebs have. Does that mean that Japan is a country of total chaos where outlaws are running wild and we have total anarchy? Of course not. Your foolish, inexperienced tourist brain was kinda right when it was saying, wow, Japan is amazing. Which brings me to the point where I want to compare Japan to my home country Germany, which is also very known for people following the rules, being always on point, always on time, and everything is running perfectly smooth. Which, by the way, is the greatest German marketing scam in history, because it's not true. But I guess this leads to the thing I wanted to talk about: social perception against reality. If you visit a country as a tourist, you recognize the differences from your own country. So of course you are impressed when everyone is silent and does not talk on the phone in the subway, or when people leave the gold bars in Starbucks unattended, because you couldn't do that in your own country. And these differences stick out. But then there are also cases that you maybe don't notice, which are worse than in your own country, like the underage drinking or smoking rules. Or my personal favorite, the cyclists. Did you know that in Germany you can lose your normal driver's license if you ride your bicycle while drunk? So what I want to say with all of that is each country has their own rules which they deem worthy to follow. Not every law or rule are enforced equally, because over time behavior is shaped by society. After all, law does not protect the people. People protect the law. Think about it. So to sum this video up, I gave you a sarcastic viewpoint on Japanese rules, but overall, yes, I think social harmony is great in Japan and it is a very safe country. It's just important to not wear your rose-colored glasses all the time and acknowledge that the sakura is not always pinker on the other side. Thank you so much for watching. If you tend to like my humor, make sure to check out my channel and some other videos that are linked in the cards. Drop a like and see you in the next one. Sayonara.